Hey, 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 and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl, Lori, and we are gonna do something super easy today. We're gonna just make a smoothie. You can make this at any given time. It's gonna be a higher in fat content, which means it's going to satisfy your stomach and your appetite a little bit. It's just something really good that I like to start my morning with. I change them up from time to time. Usually I'm a big peanut butter girl, so usually it's always gonna be peanut butter, but today it's gonna be a little different. And we're gonna talk about loving the idea of failing. Right? You're like, wait, what? Yeah, that's right. Loving the idea of failing because you fail forward, right? Failing is just a learning tool. And so when you look at failure as a bad thing, very often you're not going to want to even take a risk because you're like, what if I fail? That's okay. If you fail, it just means that you're not in alignment. So let's start this, okay? So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to do some spinach, this already washed spinach that I refuse to put in another holder because I know I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. So I like to say do like, see my version of a handful? It's like a handful-ish. It's even more. So we're going to do a handful of that. Spinach is really good, just really good for your overall system. And I know you're like, what is this little bitty lime? I like to do a key lime. And this week, I also hope to do a little key lime cheesecake for you. While we chit chat. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze the limes here are like so small. So of course, so good. I actually like to put that in my water. Key limes are really good. I like limes in general. But yeah, so we're going to do that. Preferably not with a seed, though it's okay too. And we're going to do, this is where the fats come into play. So we're going to do a half a teaspoon, probably a whole teaspoon of coconut oil, which is yum. And again, if you have any aversion to any fats or you're watching something that you're eating, this probably isn't for you. But if not, we're going to also do an entire whole avocado in here. So while I'm cutting this avocado up, let's chat about this failure situation. So first of all, I think that overall as humans, we're kind of taught failing is wrong. Like you can never fail at something. But instead of fearing that failure, it's to look at it as, okay, what is this quote unquote failure showing me? So let's say you're taking a test and let's say the test, you fail at the test. Okay, so what did that show you? Maybe you weren't as prepared for it as you could have been. Maybe you didn't take the time that was needed to study for it. So what does that failure show you? It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that, hey, I know next time I need to really put some process and some thought into this. And I've learned, and I think dare to say that we've all been there where, we sometimes don't think about failure till it happens and you're like, oh, it really can happen, right? I think that that's like something that we all do. But hopefully that can prevent you from doing it because once you learn, see, that's the whole thing is what are you learning? And that's the whole concept of what failing is. So if you look at it as more of a learning tool than you do as something negative, then you're going to find the process and the progression in that. And that also includes relationships. Very often people will say, you know what? I feel like I failed at this relationship. Well, maybe it just didn't work out. And what you do is you take the lessons. I love avocado. You take the lessons that you've learned from the situation, but not the situation itself. And when you do that, you're able to really look at things with a subjective space where you're like, okay, this didn't work out in the relationship. What could I have done differently? What areas do I need to work on? What kind of boundaries should I set? These are all things for you to look at, not get caught up in the whole idea of what the failure is. So now we're going to add a little bit more protein to this. Like there's already protein, but we're going to add even more. And I'm going to do probably a good teaspoon of vanilla protein powder. I actually get my protein powder from Australia. It's called Tropica, but then I put it in these little home edit things because in my brain, I'm fully home edited. Not really though. And then we're going to do an entire cup of almond milk. So this gives you a really good, yummy breakfast, right? Or a snack or whatever. It's really good. It gives you the fats, the proteins, the vegetables. So it gives you a lot of different assortments of what you need. So then we're going to, this is going to get loud. My mic just died, so I'm going to have to charge this. So it might sound a little bit more echoey because I'm not using anything for it. But it's really easy because we're almost done. So what you do is, you can drink it straight out of wherever you do. I'm just showing you what I do. So you can kind of see the difference into what I do. And you can actually make that into an ice cream too, by the way. Like if you put that in the freezer, and it gets like ice cream, and it's really good because then you can have your ice cream and not have any guilt behind it. You can even throw some chocolate chips in there. You can like really like zooze it up. There's no failing at it. So then essentially what I like to do is I like to do a little bit of chia seed on top. And again, you can make it more if you want. It's already kind of like, see, it's not runny or anything. It's really good. And then I have a bamboo straw, and I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna have it for my brekkie. It is so good. Like, definitely want to add some like chocolate chips to it next time, or even do a chocolate protein powder. But what I wanted to continue to tell you is that if you are resisting this idea that failing makes you a bad person, if you're absorbing that idea that failure makes you a bad person, it's not going to serve your best and highest good. And when you look at someone else and think that they're a failure when you don't know their story, now that's more of an ego check, right? So here's your homework: is I want you to allow yourself to be in a space of being okay with failing or making a mistake. Because until you get there, you will always, always, always be in this space of like fearing things, because you're going to need to know that it's going to work out. It might not. You might put all kinds of effort into everything. Going to school, going to do this, do all of this. Still might not work out for you. But it's embracing that. It's embracing that some things are just not for you, whether you want them or not. Just because you want them doesn't mean that they're in alignment with you. That's the idea of ego strength, right? Releasing any of those expectations, especially on yourself. So what I want you to do today is I want you to consider doing something good and healthy for your body. Do a little bit of movement if you can, go for a walk, and be okay with failing. Don't resist taking a risk in fear of failing. If you take the risk and it doesn't work out, you have more tools in your toolbox. That's the big key.